That's okay from my side. Marie-Angelique, if you have a look at your ceiling and if you have a look at my ceiling, it seemed that we're in the same building.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Okay, well, that's great. That's a topic for today. I'm going to speak for 15 minutes now about our office buildings. And I think everybody will be delighted about that. What do you think?
That's fine. So you can, Patrick, you can start.
Yeah,
just to introduce, maybe I let you introduce yourself.
No, as you wish, as you wish.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to do so. So the only thing is, am I able to control the PowerPoint slides, or is somebody else clicking on them?
No, you can. You have the control of the slides. So
okay, we'll try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that I have some control. That's great.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
So Patrick, start if you are ready.
Thanks a lot for giving me the floor. Hello to everybody on the screens. It's a great pleasure for us to present ourselves here. My name is Patrick Dufour, as you've seen on the screen. I am the Managing Director of the Economic Development Agency of the Greater Heilbronn region. Well, as an economic development agency, we should probably not be here, but it started like 20 years ago that we became interested into the world of polymers, and we started our own polymer cluster, a small cluster initiative, which grew slowly but steadily, and then we were ready to go for some international projects. And today I'm going to speak to you about one of those projects called POLREC, which is a project that we did neither invent nor are we leading it, but we're part of the consortium, and this is why I'm here today. So as you can see here on the first slide, well, it's a project called POLREC, and POLREC is a combination of two words, which are polymer and recycling. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about what we're doing within the next probably 30 months or so in the following minutes. So as I told you, we are glad to be here. We have started recently, as you can see here on that slide. We started on the 1st of September last year, and in total we have 36 months to carry out our project. For those of you being acquainted with international projects, it means that you have a, let's say, preliminary phase during which you are setting up everything. And once you've done that, you'll be able to go out, talk to the public, talk to the companies, bring companies together and carry out the project. Yeah, and we are actually right now in the phase that the preparations are all more or less done, and that we are able to talk to everybody who could be concerned. As you can see here, it is a COSME project. This means that we're speaking here about cluster excellence, and we're talking about SMEs. So yes, we wanted to have this project coming to life, and so we applied for it, and we applied for it in the Eurocluster call. The Euroclusters was a call published last year, or I think even the 1.5 years ago, by the European Union. And well, the Euroclusters are meant to really bring forward a specific industry. So there were open calls, so where each industry foreseeable could apply for, and there were some restricted calls for the 14 different industries the European Union is really interested in. And here on this slide, in the inner circle, you can see, well, mostly in the very inner circle, you can see the Euroclusters logo, but then on the next outer circle, you see those 14 different industries the European Union is really interested in. So it starts with textile and goes through lots of varieties of industries until it reaches the aerospace and defense world. And you can see here on the lower right side, the name of POLREC. And what you can see below the name of POLREC is that there are 8 numbers presented here. So the European Union thinks that POLREC is, well, really embedded into 8 different industries. And we would not deny that, because plastics or polymers, of course, play a major role in many, many different industries. And so if you want, we are one of those Euroclusters really combining many different industries. So POLREC is a European consortium. On the next slide, you're going to see the names and the locations of the different partners. And what we want to do is we want to really promote plastic waste recycling. Why is that? I mean, we are all coming from the world of plastics, rubber production. So our companies are used to work with those materials, and they are really producing many, many parts, in some cases, million parts per month to gain the money, to gain the living. And now those companies had to learn the hard way that the perception of the polymer industry has changed, or probably not the perception of the industry itself, but the perception of the polymers as such has changed. And so many, many people opted or thought it would be wise to opt for a ban of plastics and polymer industries and polymer products, which in many cases doesn't make sense, since plastic is a very good, let's say, replacement for, let's say, steel or other materials which are much more expensive, which are much more problematic when it comes to the carbon footprint. Still, it is especially the plastics industry, it's especially plastics products that are not being seen on the right side of the balance. So as we have in total, I think it was like 600 companies that, no, it must be more, probably 800 companies that are represented by those cluster organizations that we have that have formed the consortium. Well, we had to do something about that. And we see a major role for many of our companies in the field of polymer recycling. Well, of course, we want to use polymers. We want to sell products based on polymers. That's at the core of our companies. But we also want our companies to have a future. And for that, we need to reuse plastic that has been used before. And on the second side, of course, we are helping the European Union to get, let's say, a bit less dependent on some of the raw materials. And this is why 5 organizations from 5 different companies have grouped themselves together in the POLREC consortium. When we start in the southern, or on the left side of the slide, it's Portugal, it's Centimfe, which is our partner there. We have a partner in Spain, Catalonia, which is Cluster MAV. Then in France, we have Polymeris, the host of today's conference. And well, in Denmark, at the Danish Material Network, or the Plast Center. And the Plast Center, of course, that's plastics. And from Germany, it's the Regional Development Agency of Greater Heilbronn. So we have formed together. And well, if you want so, we are forming kind of a band throughout the European Union to really work on polymer recycling. So, well, we need, of course, a transition of our industry. We know this. We know that the future might not be in the same kind of living, in the same kind of producing as we did before. So we have to change, but we want to be sustainable. So if we would change from one day to another in a very stupid, in a very rush and harsh way, maybe our companies might not be well off afterwards. So we need a sustainable and a steady transition of our industry. And of course, we want our companies to decrease their environmental impact, or the environmental impact of their products. Still on the same side, or at the same point, we want to increase our European autonomy when it comes to raw materials. Well, this is nothing a single company can do on its own. This is something which is only feasible, it's only possible if companies are working together. Sometimes it's a good idea to create national or even just regional value chains. That's what all those organizations forming the consortium have done during the past decade or decades. And we were quite good at it. Still, when we really want to enlarge our impact, or when we really want to create the future of our companies, well, we need to bring companies from different value chains, from different European unions together. Otherwise, we fear it would not be feasible. And if we really want to have the best carbon footprint available, in that case, we need the best ideas from all over Europe. And this is why we have created this consortium. So, as I told you, we have done this before. We've done this regionally. Now it is a thing we are doing on an international level. And our main goal is to really help our SMEs, and most of our members, of course, are SMEs, to, well, create their own disruptive development moment. They need to change. They know about it. Most of them know about it. And in order to really help them, they have to overcome the barriers that they are facing, and we want to help them with it. And the second point is, well, in the past, it was just heating up the raw material. It was then creating the polymer products. Well, this is not sufficient enough, as we have to use those recycled, reused raw materials. Of course, there are problems in terms of quality. So we have to overcome those problems. And for that, we need new digital solutions for especially our smaller companies. The large corporations with 1,000, 2,000 or even more employees, they have everything on their own. They know everything. They know how to do it, but the smaller ones don't. And this is why we are really focusing on the SMEs, and we are sure that we'll be able to make a big impact there. So when you start a project like this, of course, well, you have a blank sheet of paper, which we had, that we wanted to have some knowledge on it. So we started our own first survey. As you can see, 90 companies participated in that survey. And yeah, well, here's the key findings. First of all, well, most of the recycled polymers that are being processed come from industrial waste. So this is an important point, because this, of course, limits the different contact points where we could get our raw material from. And when we have a look at the different numbers here, you can see, well, that 75% of those companies that we interviewed, that we had contact with during our survey, they're using recycled materials. So not all of them do. And when you have a look at the other numbers, well, some of those companies, roughly 1/3, are using their own plastic waste. Some of the companies sell their plastic waste to recyclers. Well, and some of them, just throw them away. So in total, it's like 33%, which is a set of numbers that we ought to have on the other side of the balance. So more of the companies, of course, should reuse their own plastic waste. More companies should probably resell the material to recyclers, and we would like, of course, reduce the number of companies disposing the waste, their rubbish to waste material. Then we ask about the countries outside of Europe we should be cooperating with. And as you can see here on the slide, the country which is seen as being the most important one is the US. Why is that? Well, we see, or our companies, it's not a matter of our cluster organizations, but the companies that we asked, they perceive the US as being the most attractive market. In another project that some of the consortium members shared before or had before, It's called PERSI, which again is polymer recycling. Still some other letters. We were working on 4 different markets, India, Israel, Canada, and the US, but it is still the US. And so we have already opened some contacts to the US, and we're pretty sure that we'll be able to help you or to help SMEs to get at least an open door when crossing the ocean. Well, and when we talk about the recyclers, there, not surprisingly, mechanical recycling is what they do right now. This is something that they did for decades. And some of them also dwelled into the chemical recycling. So, sorry, so we have to speak to the recyclers now, because it could be very beneficial not only to go into mechanical recycling, but also to follow the path of chemical recycling. So we have some promising results, and where we'll see where it leads us. But I think, that's my personal perception, I think that this is a very important path that we should follow. Another question that we raised was which kind of polymers were processed by the company that we were interviewing. And you can see roughly 60% are in the field of thermoplastics. And you can see that the other 2, like thermosets and thermoplastic elastomers, are represented with 12 to 15%. And then there's the rest. But what we can see right now, thermoplastic is really the thing our companies are processing. And so we will most certainly especially have a look at this type of polymer. We need to get more insights about this, and for that, well, we are going to have lots of B2B meetings, and we are going to speak to the different companies to get more knowledge. So if you have insights from your side, just let us know. Please help us. So there's a possibility to join this survey. I know that I think it was yesterday, 2 more companies have filled out the survey. So for us, this is very crucial and beneficial data. Thank you for that. And now, well, talking about the preliminaries first, and now about the services that we have. Well, there is a very important thing that comes to this project here. So for the first time, at least in my life, we are able to help companies directly because we are able to organize some cascade funding. And so we want you to really adopt innovative chemical and mechanical recycling procedures. We want you to adopt digital solutions needed for using recycled materials. And we want the SMEs to test new and innovative recycling processes. And we're going to do this in, organizing training on recycling technologies, on digital solutions, and as well on digital marketplace solutions. We want SMEs to be able to test those solutions, especially for the polymer quality monitoring. And we want to help companies to adopt their really new services that they didn't have in their companies in the past. I'm sorry. So we've come up with 3 different pillars on which you are able to apply for funding, and this applies to those companies being qualified as SMEs. Unfortunately, we cannot support the bigger ones. So there's 3 columns, which is innovation, training, and networking. And for each of these 3 pillars, we are organizing calls, and you'll be able to apply for funding. And on each of the different, in each of the different aspects here, you can see there's a sum, which is named like 30,000, 20,000, 20,000 euros that you could apply for. Maybe competition is going to be very high. In that case, of course, we will have to choose the right companies. In other cases, competition might not be that important, but you can see the financial support that we're going to hand out to companies starts with 1,450 euros for some training and goes up to 30,000 euros for access to mechanical recycling solutions or access to chemical recycling solutions. We are going to publish those calls in due course in the near future, and we would be very, very glad if you would apply for it. We think it's a very, very good chance to get started when your company is a newcomer when it comes to mechanical or chemical recycling. And we'd love really to make an impact. We want to help the companies to get to the next level. And this is why we have come up with these 3 points: innovation, training, and networking. And we'd be glad to have you on those calls, and we'd be glad to discuss each aspect of what we're offering. And we would be very, very glad if you would then come and join us for all the different activities. Sorry for this. So we are organizing networking events. So we'll give lots of different information about the different funding schemes. We will provide industry. We will provide industry insights, and we will provide networking. All of this for free. And in some cases, you're even getting paid for the activities that you could do together with us. I think it's a very, very good opportunity for you. And we'd be glad if you would join us in the near future. So thanks a lot for your attention. And I'm ready to answer your questions, of course.